In a world plagued by reboots, haunted by sequels, dominated by the same old shit, get ready for an original podcast that will gouge out your eyeballs and skull fuck you. Starring Ginger Josh, Adam the Hare, and introducing the immortal Frank. Hold on to your butts. It's the Game Rage Movies TV Podcast.
Oh, yeah. You know what that song means? That means it's time for another episode of the Game Rage Movies and TV Podcast, parentheses, Seppuku, the podcast. As always, my name is Josh. I'm here today with Adam.
Howdy.
And this episode is going to be about Shogun, the miniseries on FX, episodes 7 and 8. Now, before we get started, I did want to give an update because I am getting the book, right? And so I just want to give a shout out to my father-in-law, Joe. Nice guy. Fucking, we were at the bookstore and I was going to buy the book there. But now what they have done is instead of it just being the one book, they've now cut it into 2 books. And the 2 books are individually the same price as the one book was, but actually even more so.
Oh,
They're $30 for part 1 and $30, so it's $60 fucking dollars. And I was like, because he was like, oh, just get it, I'll get it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to fucking spend or even have anybody spend $60 on 2 books when I can just go on Amazon and buy it, the singular version of the book for whatever, 25 bucks.
Price,
yeah. So, or I think it's 20 or 25 bucks. And so then I was like, no, I'll just buy it on Amazon. And then later that night, he sends me a screenshot and he's like, oh, hey, I got it for you. And it's like, but it's going to be here in about 3 weeks, 3 to 6 business weeks. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. It's a free book, man. Thank you for getting me this book. So now I can read the book and then we can do a special episode after the fact comparing the book to the series, which would be interesting.
So you can satiate your mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So anyways, did you have anything to talk about before we got into this episode?
Fuck, man. There's a bunch of movies out to be seen.
Correct.
I want to see Civil War.
Yeah.
I want to see fucking Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
I want to see the Monkey Man movie.
Oh, yeah, that looks pretty good.
I don't know why.
It just looks interesting.
It just looks interesting.
It seems like an original concept that hasn't been beaten to death.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't know if this has already been brought up from the previous episode, but I'm very excited for the sequel to Beetlejuice. I think the clever title really did it for me because in the movie, if you're familiar with it, Beetlejuice can't have his name said 3 times or else he gets sent back to his model home where he's trapped. But the movie's called Beetlejuice. And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's Beetlejuice 2, right?
And it's funny. Yeah, so that's cool. And then also Michael Keaton coming back playing Beetlejuice, and he doesn't say a whole lot, but fuck, man, I love that character. Tim Burton's a weird fucker, so this is like his. I don't think he wrote the film or the script for the film itself. I think he's just probably director.
Yeah,
but this is more akin to who he was.
Yeah,
during the late 80s mid 80s to early 90s when he was making these low budget films like fucking Jack, what's his name? A Nightmare Before Christmas and Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice. It was more low budget movies, although I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a low budget film. Probably going to be somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, this feels like a return to form for Tim Burton because we had those fucking Alice in Wonderland movies that he directed that I never saw, but they look kind of whack.
True, they did look kind of whack.
But just prospects for movies to check out in the future that I'm sure we're going to see at some point or watch at some point. But nonetheless, this as if I can't say this enough. This particular episode is dedicated to episodes 7 and 8 of Shogun, the FX series that's also featured on Hulu, and getting towards the climax of the fucking series itself. These were more mellow episodes, I would say.
Yeah.
Largely, there wasn't a whole lot of action, but the things that involved violence ended up being the most impactful, probably up until this point of the series.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And then I was gonna say next weekend, my dad wanted to go see the Civil War movie, so fucking me and him are probably gonna go see it down there in Orange County. So I was gonna say you should just go see it, and then fucking, we can do an episode about it.
Okay.
Because everything I've read about it says it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All the reviews are great. It says it's the best combat in a film that's ever. Yeah, like the combat, because apparently there's a lot of combat sequences, because she's like a reporter or whatever, and she's like embedded with some different units or whatever the fuck. I have no idea what the story is.
I didn't hear. Did you?
Oh, you didn't hear any of that? Oh,
I don't want to hear that.
all right, whatever. Well, anyways, supposedly it's really good. So whatever. Stay tuned for our review of it.
All right. But
anyways, all right. So let's get into the.
So that I can go see it this weekend.
Yeah, if you want to go see it, because I'm gonna go see it next week. Not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. We're gonna go see it.
Oh shit! Maybe I'll go see it like the same time, roughly around the same time. So that way I don't forget what happens and shit.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. All right, shizzle. All right, so here we go. Chapter 7 or episode 7, A Stick of Time. And that's such a great name for this episode, because the stick of time, I was like, what the fuck is a stick of time? And then we find out later, halfway through or whatever, during the episode, about what that actually means and how important it actually is to this part of the story, it seems like. So anyways, this episode starts off back in the day when Toranaga is a boy.
Boy.
Oh, boy. B-O-I. Boy.
If you're familiar with the SpongeBob meme. Boy.
So it's basically at the end of the battle, and this guy that he is fighting against, and it's Toranaga as a boy, and his right-hand man, Hiromatsu, as a very much younger man. They've just won this battle, and basically the guy has to surrender. And so because he lost to a boy, he has to immediately commit seppuku. Like, there's no coming back from this.
Yeah.
Like, you lost to a kid. You have to kill yourself. Like, there's no other option. So he goes to do it, and he basically says no. His buddy one of his guys gets up to be his second, which is basically when you fucking cut your guts open, another dude beheads you to make sure that you're dead. All right. So this other guy gets up and he says, no, sit down. If anyone's going to do it, I want the boy warlord to fucking be my second. And so Hiromatsu and Toranaga, they like look at each other, and then Hiromatsu goes like, yeah, I guess. And so he's like, all right. So fucking goes over there to do it. And the guy fucking kills himself, and then Toranaga goes to swing, and then that's it. You don't see what happens. It cuts to like another scene or whatever. And so, or I think it cuts to the opening credits, actually, is what that cuts to. So then
showing the cunning of Toranaga being such a prodigy, in warfare at such a young age.
Even as a boy, he fucking was winning battles and shit.
Boy.
Yeah. So then it opens up after the credits, I think, is when it opens up to basically them in the woods, or they're on like this wooded road, and they're just like chilling there waiting. And then basically they're talking shit, saying like, hey, the Anjin needs to make sure he shuts the fuck up and doesn't say anything. And so then this dude rolls up on a horse, and this whole fucking army behind him, wearing this elaborate fucking full battle rattle. All right, they look like they're ready for war. And I did think that, I was like, okay, that's interesting that they've chosen to show up already ready to fight. That's a little sus. They knew they were just maybe coming to help, but they weren't going to be in a straight battle right away. But okay, I get it. Maybe they're afraid they're going to get fucked up on the road. Whatever. So who is it? It's Seiki Nobutatsu. It's Toranaga's brother.
Yes.
Or his half. I think it's his half brother, actually. It's technically what he is. I think he's like his half brother. So they come up, and they're going to discuss the terms of what they're going to do, and so of their alliance. And it starts off where his brother's just kind of talking shit and saying shit to him, and you're kind of thinking for a second, oh man, this might not end well. And then he starts like, ha ha, like laughing, and they're like, they basically do that moment when in Predator, when Arnold Schwarzenegger and fucking what's his name, Carl Weathers, when they meet, and he goes, Dylan, you son of a bitch, and they fucking grab, and they basically do the equivalent of that. He's like, you son of a bitch, come here, and they fucking hug each other, and they're like, okay, let's discuss our terms. And he's like, we can just discuss that later. Let's just fucking go and have some fun. I hear you got a hot spring here in Edo. What about that? Hey, or not Edo, but he's like, wherever the fuck they're at. He's like, hey, here you got a hot spring here. Let's fucking
and hookers.
And he's like, yes, I've prepared. Toranaga tells his brother, I've prepared the finest of whores and hot springs for you. Please come and indulge this with me, my good brother, who I haven't spoken to in probably 2 decades. So they get back to Kraken, and they essentially, I think after that's when they have that little dinner, right?
They're sipping back cold ones.
Yeah, they're throwing some cold brews, and they're just fucking charging them.
Telling stories.
Yeah. Telling stories of days of the past. And so it does turn very fucking dark. And you're thinking like, why is he fucking? And then that's when you start to kind of see what's happening here. And one of the things that he talks about, his brother starts talking about these stories of when he was a boy, and he starts saying about, oh yes, he's like, he was the boy warlord, and the legend is that he lopped off that guy's head in one fell swoop or whatever. And you're just kind of sitting there thinking, okay, like that's interesting. And he's telling these stories, and then he goes in to tell the story of a time when Toranaga shits himself as a boy, and he doesn't want to tell anybody. So he basically just like rides a horse, like however many fucking 25, 30 miles or whatever it was that they were going somewhere, and didn't tell anyone that he shit his pants. And he's telling this fucking story. And so then Nagakata, what's his name? Nagakata, his son?
Nagakata.
Yeah, he's the one that kept pushing for these stories. So then that's when Toranaga's brother starts telling this shit in his pants story. And then everybody looks like very fucking, what is this? Wait, I thought we were telling good stories, and now you're telling this fucking story?
Yeah, like Omi seemed to be the person that was like, what the fuck? Why is this motherfucker coming in here? Like, being
disrespectful.
Yeah.
And talking all this shit. Yeah, he's coming in to help us out, but why is he talking shit? And so then it becomes revealed essentially that his brother, Toranaga's half brother, was offered and took the 5th regent's position that Toranaga stepped down from, or resigned from, I guess is the right word. And that's when he says, hey, your bitch ass needs to fucking come with me. You're going to come with me. I'm escorting you to the capital.
To Osaka.
To Osaka. And he tells Nagakata, oh, by the way, here's your fucking death warrant, because this is your crime for your punishment for killing, what's his name? Jinsei, or whatever the fuck that guy's name was.
Oh, Josen, that's
right. Here is your death warrant, essentially. And so then Nagakata is like, fucking, what the fuck? He doesn't know what to do, so he's going to reach out and take it. And Toranaga fucking yells at him. He's like, don't fucking accept that, you idiot. Sit down. Like, he says, I'll tell you what. You'll have my answer tomorrow about what we're going to do about this. So then they say, okay. So then they go, there's some talk between, I think there's like a scene where between someone, I don't remember who, but then they go to this field where they're set up at in this little council camp. And Toranaga basically is going to render his decision and say like what they're going to do. Because Toranaga goes out and there's a sequence where he's thinking about what he's going to do. And then Hiromatsu, Nagakata, everybody's all there. Omi, Yobushige, everybody's all there. And they're basically like, fuck, man. All right, we're going to stick it to him. Like, we got to fucking fight him. This is going to be great. And he's like, just calm down. Let me think. And he's walking through the trees and he's thinking. And Nagakata is really being like, because he tells them basically, we're going to surrender. And he tells them that, like, listen, there is no one, like, this is a bad situation and no one has the right to destroy the realm, essentially. And that's what this will cause. Us not surrendering will cause the destruction of the realm because we will all go to war. And the Japans will be at war with itself, and a major civil war will happen. So he says that protecting the realm has always been his number one priority, and that, like I said, no one has the right to destroy it. So he would be selfish in fighting, and this is it. The game is up. The jig is now up, as they say. So everybody's pissed. Nagakata starts yelling about shit, and then Toranaga makes a very interesting line where he says a very interesting line where he looks at him and he says, why is it that always those who have never been to war clamor so much for it? And it's a very, very interesting line to say, which is true. Those who haven't actually experienced it are the ones that really push for it the most, because it's like, oh, the slightest offense, oh, let's go to war. Well, listen, man, if you haven't gone and seen the horrors of warfare, you would be doing everything you could to try to avoid this from happening, from going to war. This should be your last fucking resort.
Which has been consistent with the Toranaga character, who is reluctant to even hold the title of Shogun or even to fulfill the plan of the Crimson Sky.
Right.
Or at least that's how it's been presented to us.
Right. And so basically there's a sequence in between there also, I think, between Toranaga's brother and Yabushige. And he basically is like, he's like, fuck, man. He's like, I sent my buddy there to like tell Ishido, like, hey, man, like, it's all good. We're good. I'll get you the shit, whatever you need, man. Like, I'm still on your side. Don't worry. And then Toranaga's brother tells him, oh, yeah, by the way, Ishido wanted me to deliver his response to your general personally. And so he hands him this box. And Yabushige knows exactly what the fuck is in this box. He's like, shit. You can see the look on his face. And he's like, I don't need to open it. And he's like, no. He's like, go ahead, open it and see what the response is. So he's like, fuck. All right. So he goes and he opens the box. Of course, it's his general's head that he sent over there.
Beheading.
Just dead. And he's like, he just immediately is like, I knew this, but now it's fucking confirmed. And he looks over at Omi and he's like, we need to rewrite the wills, bitch. Like, that's basically what he fucking tells him in a look.
The classic fucking line from Yabushige.
Yeah.
Time to draft a new will.
It's time to draft a new will because we're all about to fucking die. And so once that sequence happens, and then we get into the council part where they're all sitting there. And, or no, wait a minute. I take that back. I believe that there was a sequence between Toranaga and Buntaro, and Mariko was there, and they were talking about something. And Buntaro was like, I want to, what did he want to do? He asked, oh no, he wants to kill the Anjin. He says, I want to kill this guy. And Toranaga's like, fuck, why? Like, what, why? He's like, are you accusing him of fucking your wife? Because if you do that, just know that you also have to kill her. And he's like, but I don't want to kill her. I just want to kill him. And he's like, bitch, I don't got time for this shit. You know the rules. What? So why are you even bringing this to me, basically? And Buntaro's just like, fuck, defeated yet again.
And that was something that was attempted to be established, was the Anjin or fucking Blackthorn was sent to the whorehouse to give the illusion, because even if he suspected, Toranaga himself was suspecting that there was some kind of, there's coitus going on between Mariko and Blackthorn. It's like, all right, well, this shit's coming to an end. We're going to send him to a whorehouse.
Yeah.
He's going to get pillowed.
And then that'll be it.
And then Buntaro won't suspect a thing.
Right.
But he's still on about that.
Yeah, he still wants to kill him. Yeah.
And he's like, are you really do you really want to fucking do this? And he's like, man, nah.
And then he just goes, fine, nah, I'm not going to do it. And then he runs away pouting, basically.
Yeah.
And so then Mariko asks Toranaga, like, yeah, let me die. Just let me die. Just let me die. And he's like, no, you're both fucking stupid. Quit. We have bigger problems than your stupid little bullshit right now. And I don't got time to deal with this. Be gone with you, essentially, is what he fucking tells him to fuck straight off. So then the next morning, that's when they have everybody's fucking assembled, right? They're all in this like little camp. Toranaga's brother shows up with the whole army on the fucking hill and everything. And this is where everybody's like, all right, yeah. Everybody's in their full combat gear. He's like, yeah, we're going to fucking settle this. We're going to fight this whole army. We're going to go to Osaka and we're going to kill everybody there. Oh yeah, this is the beginning of it, right? That's what everybody's like thinking. And then Toranaga basically says, no, there's going to be no Crimson Sky. That was a mistake. He reiterates that no one has the right to destroy the realm. People are in protest. Yabushige's like, man, what the fuck, man? Like, this is my last chance to live. I already have my other side I was playing is dead.
It's dead, yeah.
That chance is over. You're my only hope to live now. We need to fight. Nagakado is saying the same thing. Then essentially, what's his name? Blackthorn is like, you're all fucking stupid and I'm not dying. Fuck you guys. And he leaves.
Yeah.
And he just walks away. And everybody's just like, the fuck? And he's just, okay, well, I guess he's gone. So then the episode basically leads to the end of it where basically Toranaga's brother goes to this whorehouse, or tea house as they're called there. And he basically gets led into an ambush. Omi and Nagakado kind of set this up. And there was a little sequence prior to this where the two of them were in the hot spring.
They were plotting.
And fucking Toranaga's brother shows up and starts talking shit to them. And they're like both look at each other like, oh yeah, we're definitely fucking doing this now. Like, we're killing this motherfucker for real. And so there was I don't remember if this happened in this episode. It might have been the next episode, but there's that sequence where Yabushige is going to the hot spring. I don't remember if that was in this episode or the next one. But and then because the guards are all there to make sure that none of them leave. And so he shows up with his homies, and the Toranaga's brothers guards are all there. Like, they were just going to maybe get into the hot tub too, or the hot spring too. And he's like, well, I guess there's not room for both of us. And so then everybody's like, oh, we're going to fight. And then he goes to pull out his sword, or they think, oh, he's going to pull out his sword. So the other guys all jump and they're like, oh, and they go to grab their swords, and he just pulls it out. And then he just gets naked and he gets in the hot tub and he's like, this is the life. And he's just fucking chilling. That was like, pretty baller.
Yeah. He's like, dude, I'm already fucked from this situation. Might as well enjoy the last fucking 15 minutes of my life.
Yeah, basically. So then back to the end of the episode, they now have this setup happening where where Toranaga's brother, they're going to kill him in this whorehouse. So essentially this happens. His brother tries to run away, and he is in the like little pond, and he starts fumbling around. He falls over, and like Nagakado sees him trying to run and sees him fall over. So he's like, oh, this is my chance. I'm going to get him. And so Toranaga's brother is vulnerable because he's on the floor and he's basically weaponless. And now he's like, shit, this is it. I'm going to die. And Nagakado goes up to him and he's going to fucking puts the sword over his head. And he's going to fucking whack him and kill him. And what ends up happening? Nagakado's dumb fucking ass steps on a rock, slips because it's wet because of the pond that just got disturbed. And not only does he fall over like an idiot, but he cracks open the entire back of his skull on a sharp, pointy rock. Like, fuck, man. What are the odds?
What a way to go, dude.
What a way to go. And one of the things that was funny is in that encounter that they had previously in the little hot spring, Nagakado says basically, oh, well, whatever's going to happen to me, it will be a beautiful death anyways. And then Toranaga's brother makes some fucking snide comment, and then that's how they ended the conversation. Now that this kid's dead, like he's not even dead. He's like fucking in the process of dying. His brain has just been smashed essentially by a rock that he did to himself. Toraga's brother goes up to him and he looks at him and he goes, "Ha, there's nothing beautiful about this." And then he just fucking walks away. And then the end of the episode is where like you see him die. You see Nagakado die,
which was cool because in episode 8 there was like a juxtaposition of that to say that. Probably one of the worst situations that Toranaga could probably experience is losing his own son.
Right, yeah.
And that this death was menial. It didn't have any fucking meaning. And for his brother to say that, it's like, fuck, what a shame.
Yeah.
Anyways,
moving on. Let's go. Let's continue. Yeah.
But as we come to learn in episode 8, which we will be talking about. Well, unless you get what other shit was there to add about?
I think that's pretty much all that really happened in episode 7. Like it was very much story driven. It was the beginnings of Yabushige, and I don't know if that happened in this episode or if it happened in the next episode. Mm-hmm. But there was the beginning talks of Yabushige and Blackthorn plotting to figure out a way to fucking live.
Yeah, because neither of them want to go down the way that basically resigning, going to Osaka, and then fulfilling their death sentence. Or, I mean, everybody's going to be killed, basically.
Right. That's going to be the result of it, is the two of them know that the only way they can live is if they fight.
Yeah.
And so they're going to go against Toranaga's wishes and fight. So I don't remember if that started. It kind of starts in this episode. And Yabushige kind of tells him no to fuck off. Like, oh, I can't. But you see this look in his eyes, and he's kind of like, I know I need to do this, but he sees everyone else around, and Omi is there. And I think this actually did happen in the next episode, this sequence. So we'll get to that. So the next episode 8, The Abyss of Life. What a great fucking name for that, because it's like Nagakado just died. So now his troubles are over. He went into what would be known as like the abyss of death. Now this is about, well, when you die, that's it. There's your problems are over. Everybody else has their problems to still deal with now over here. So essentially, they're all traveling to Edo because they're going to do this funeral deal for Nagakado, and they're gonna fucking, well, I guess give him like a cremation type funeral is essentially what it is, because they put him in one of those little carriage huts things and then they light it on fire.
Yeah, and there was like a grace period for Toranaga's death.
Yeah,
now that his son's
there's
dead.
a 45-day grace period or something like that is what they say. It's the traditional 45 days. And so essentially during this time, Ishido is proposing to the Ochiba, the queen regent, I guess, for lack of a better term, to further their alliance that they need to get married.
I think it's just to save his own ass.
I think he knows that she's going to, once the Toranaga problem is over,
he's dead.
She don't need him anymore.
Yeah.
So she's just going to kill him. So I think he's like, no, we need to get married. So that way, like, so yes, we can strengthen our alliance, quote unquote. But it's really so that he just doesn't get killed. That's what he's looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, they're kind of proposing that maybe Toranaga should align himself with her to avoid this death sentence for everybody that's about to happen. And so Toranaga basically, he's got some kind of illness or some kind of fucking cold or some shit that they picked up on the way there. So he's like coughing and hacking. He's like got pneumonia or some shit. Who knows? But he's basically just like, no, guys, like, this is it. Like, she hates me. There's no fucking way this is going to happen. He asked Mariko, like, oh, you know her. What say you, Mariko? And she's like, well, I don't think she hates
Zero.
Yeah. So essentially that's it. That plan's dead.
What? I didn't understand that part. That was the part that I didn't understand. Is like her father, Lady Ochiba's father, and Toranaga were in cahoots in the past.
Yeah.
They killed the old fucking Taiko together.
Yeah. Right.
But that ended up causing problems for both Mariko and Lady Ochiba. I forgot her real name.
Right, yeah. Forgot her name too, but yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think the reason why she hates Toranaga is because Toranaga got off scot-free where her dad had to fucking... Or no, wait. Yeah, because it was her dad that was in cahoots with him, right?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah. Because he died as a result of it, right?
I think so. And she ended up becoming a whore.
Right. Because she had to escape.
And then Mariko married
she was the Lord. Well, no, her dad was the old Taiko.
Oh, right. Okay, right. That's what it was. Yeah.
That's why she hates Toranaga, because him and Mariko's dad basically were the ones that killed him. And so Mariko's dad died. So that's why she hates him. There's no way that she'll ever fucking go back to liking him.
But why would he even conceive that idea?
I think someone else proposed it to him. And that's why he was like, okay, well, what say you, Mariko? You know her. He's like, I know this bitch hates me. So, like, was there any chance? And she's like, yeah, basically none.
Fuck no.
Zero. There's zero chance.
Okay.
So then in what was another hilarious fucking scene, and it really probably isn't, it's more dramatic, but it was funny to me, was Buntaro says to her, Mariko, about how he wants to do a tea ceremony or whatever for her. So he does it. He does everything like perfectly prim and proper and all the way. And she's like, oh, yes, it was very good. And he's like, yes, well, see, the reason I called you here today was because I wanted to suggest that we just kill ourselves and just go out together. And you'll get what you want and blah, blah, blah. And so she fucking, in the most cold-blooded fucking maneuver I've ever seen in my life, basically tells him, you truly don't understand. You're a fucking idiot, because I'm not trying to die for whatever. I'm trying to die because I want to get away from you, basically. So I want to be free of you. So us dying together does not really that's not the point of why I want to die. Like, I also want to, avenge my father and all this stuff, but having you kill me is not this is not the way to do it.
Yeah.
And she basically tells him, fuck off, we're not doing it. And he's just kind of like, well, fuck, man, now I got nothing. He starts crying. It was kind of sad. It was very cold-blooded. But fuck that guy. That's what he gets. So he's a prick. So then after that, they had told Blackthorn that his buddies were there in the town of Edo. And so he's like, okay, cool. I'm going to get my guys. He's formulating this plan. He's like, I'm going to get my guys. We're going to go get the ship. We're going to fucking we're going to get the fuck out of here. All right. We're going to do something. I don't know. We're not sticking around. So he goes to go get him, and he hears them fucking saying shit. And then one of them comes out and he starts talking to him, and they have an altercation. And this guy starts talking shit to him, telling him he's a piece of shit. It's Blackthorn's fault that they're here in the first place.
And that one of the crew members died because of him.
Right, exactly. And so he's like, fuck you, man, whatever. And so then they fight, and then Blackthorn beats the fuck out of this guy and basically then says, fine, fuck you guys, and leave.
But there was more to that. Because there was an interaction, or there was an exchange where he said unclean or unkempt or some shit like that. And it wasn't those exact words, but now his perspective had changed more to akin to what the Japanese were saying about the gaijins or the foreigners.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He's like fucking filthy.
Yeah. He's like, you're disgusting.
with the
yeah,
just grimacing at like the way Europeans look, filthy. They're all grungy and shit, getting drunk, and he's like, I'm not like you motherfuckers.
Yeah, I have ascended into something greater. So then essentially that's when after that's when he goes back to Yabushige, and then later Yabushige changes his mind. He's like, all right, you know what, guys, I think we need to go with the Anjin here. We don't really have a chance of living because Toranaga is hell-bent on us all dying. So let's just go ahead and do this plan with the Anjin here. So then there's another part where the lady who's the former wife of the Taiko,
she's dying.
She has a stroke, and she's basically she dies, right? So she begs Ochiba to end the hostilities, let the hostages go, and then Ochiba's like, yeah, fuck no, bitch, we ain't doing that. My plan is almost fucking complete. So Toranaga is pissed that everybody is going against him and wanting to fight and not go along with the surrendering. So he calls this meeting where they all get together and he's going to have them all sign their names on the official surrender document.
Yeah.
And so
let's get the John Hancocks going.
Yeah. And so they're all fucking going to surrender. He passes it around to everybody. And so everybody's signing it. And then it gets to Hiromatsu and he's like, no, I ain't doing it.
As your most esteemed friend.
He's like, I'm your longest friend and your best friend. And I'm telling you, this is fucking folly. We cannot do this. And he's like, if you are intent on this, I will commit seppuku right here in protest of this. And so Hiromatsu's son is Buntaro. So he's like, Buntaro, come be my second. And he's like, and Buntaro looks up, he's like, man, I just got fucking emotionally butt fucked by my wife.
Yeah.
And now you want me to kill you? Fuck, man. But give him credit. He gets up and he's like, okay. And he immediately stands up and he fucking takes the stance and he's like ready to go. And he's like, all right, Toranaga, fucking last chance, bitch. Like, what are you going to do? And Toranaga tells him, go ahead then. I don't give a fuck. Go ahead, do it. See what happens.
The equivalent of saying kill yourself.
Yeah. He looks at him dead in the eyes and just says, kill yourself. And so then what does Hiromatsu do? He fucking
eviscerates
himself. And then Buntaro chops his fucking head off.
Seconded.
Immediately. It's seconded, done, dead as fuck. And now Yabushige really knows that I have to go through this plan with the Anjin. So he finds them and they decide to they're getting the ship ready and they're taking the guns and they're going to go do something. I don't know. I'm not sure they even fucking know what the plan's going to be, but they're going to go try and do some shit. And so they're basically like, yeah, listen, we don't like each other, but like there's a little bit of a mutual respect there now, I feel like, between the two of them.
Yeah, and also by this point, even in episode 7, Blackthorn's Japanese has gotten significantly better. So they're now exchanging words without the mediation of
Mariko. Yeah. And they're doing he's basic Japanese, but I mean, he's leaps and bounds above where he was before.
Right.
So he can actually kind of communicate with them. So then after this whole thing happens, Toranaga basically has this meeting with Mariko and he's basically telling her like, listen, this was all just a trick. It's one of my tricks. I couldn't sell this as being a real defeat unless Hiromatsu died. And he's like, that's why I had to let him do this, essentially. Which I do think that's complete bullshit. That was completely unnecessary for him to die. Especially with Nagakado dying by an accident that was no real doing of his own. He's like, he bought himself 45 days with that. He didn't need to let Hiromatsu kill himself. And honestly, that's the guy who's been helping you plan and plot and all this shit. You should really fucking have this guy around.
Well, I don't know about that because I think Mariko said, because I think Toranaga told Mariko, he's like, oh, you have more wits than Hiromatsu.
Yes, that's what he was saying is now it's his duty. He knew what his duty was and he fulfilled it. now it's time for you to play your role basically and fulfill your duty, which is like you're kind of going to be up there with, my new Hiromatsu almost is what it seems like. And so he wants her to go to Osaka, and he says, listen, he goes back to that thing about the Gosh Hawks, and he talks about how, listen, Yabushige and fucking Blackthorn, they're just the Gosh Hawks. I know they bend to my will because they do exactly what I know they're going to do, which is I know they're going to fight. So he's like, I need you to go with them to Osaka because I know that's where they're going. So he's like, I already know they're working together. And she's like, oh, has the Anjin approached Yabushige about whatever? And she's like, yeah. He's like, typical. Like, that's literally what he's like, typical. Just as I expected. So he's like, good. Now this part of the plan is going well. So he's like, you need to go there. And basically, that's where it's going to. So she shows up. She's going to roll out with them. And then Toranaga didn't go to the son's funeral because he was whatever sick, or I don't know what the fucking the excuse was that he was using. But he then goes right at the end of the episode and he says he goes there and he looks at, the son's ash pile. And he's just like, well, Nagakato, basically he says like, yeah, I know I was rough on you. And something to the equivalent of that. But he's like, you actually have done me a great service by doing this. And he said, I'm not going to waste the time that you and Hiromatsu have bought me, because you guys have both bought me some time now. And he says, I'm not going to waste it. And he's like, basically like, bitch, I'm going to be the Shogun. Like, this is happening. Crimson Sky is on. And so that's kind of where the episode ends, I think, was with him saying that.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's going to now lead into episode number 9, which is Crimson Sky.
Yeah. I believe this is where it has to be where shit's going to go down.
Oh yeah. This is where all the action is going to happen. And so one of the things so now we've recapped these last kind of 2 episodes, we're almost 40 minutes in, so we still got a little bit of time left, but I wanted to kind of go on a thread about the seppuku in itself, right? And how it kind of, because it's a very, like, this ritualistic sacrifice or ritualistic suicide, whatever you want to call it, right? It exists in a lot of different cultures, not just Japan. The way in Japan it works is a much more personal version of ritualistic sacrifice to the gods or whatever, right? Because you're not sacrificing yourself or killing yourself because of some gods or whatever. You're doing it out of essentially just, it's honor. It's all like honor based and, trying to erase the shame of whatever action you did, whatever mistake you made. And it's interesting because it's fucking completely ridiculous, but as a result, it also kind of breeds, it's like a natural selection that's done by force. Because anytime someone loses a battle, they kill themselves. So by that mistake being made, there is no live to fight another day mentality. It's if you lose, you have to kill yourself. So go ahead.
I was just going to interject real quickly. It's like you're also respecting your opponent. Like, I concede, literally.
Yeah.
And I know I can't go any further because I lost the battle, therefore there's no reason for me to be here.
Right, exactly. I have been defeated, so now it's over for me. And that does breed a sort of, all the commanders or people who live to be of old age, right, essentially have never lost a battle. And that's kind of how you breed these people like Toranaga that have just this totally, completely different way of thinking, because that's how they've gotten to live so long, is they've had to do. And you see that in all the old guys. I mean, Ishido is one who is more of a slimy kind of version of what Toranaga does, where he's only really surviving because he just happens to latch on to like
the parasite.
Yeah, he's like the parasitic version of what Toranaga does. And if you look at, all the older individuals who have lived thus far, there's that aspect of, okay, well, they didn't have to kill themselves because they never lost. So you breed this sort of high level of competency in your leadership, whereas in other societies, the weakness is allowed to exist because, well, if you lose, okay, cool, we'll just pick up and try again, right? But in this society, that's it. There's no second chances. If you fuck up and you lose, you're dead. So it's interesting to see how that has become, like in Egypt, they sacrifice people to the gods, right? That's kind of the same thing, but that's more of a broad scale. And if you look at not dictatorships, but sort of like this monarchical societies where, yes, in Japan, the taiko or a shogun, that's like your monarch type figure, right? Well, in a lot of the past cultures, they have these mass ritualistic suicides or whatever. I feel like it's done for control purposes because, well, you can't have any people rebel against you if you could randomly be selected to die. Nobody's really fucking rebelling against you because if the gods call for it, well, that's just what it is. In this instance, no one's rebelling against you because anyone that has dies. Because if you don't win, if you don't become the new king, well, you're dead. And not only are you dead, but all the males of your descendancy are now dead as well, as we saw at the beginning of the episode. It's not just that you end the bloodline. So now there is no fucking possible way that any of these rebellious thoughts or any of these treasonous actions could continue down to their lower state. When you look at another kind of interesting storytelling aspect of, like with Afro Samurai as an example, the whole crux of the story is because the one guy kills his dad. And that's what the whole epitome of the story is, him going and finally getting revenge and killing his dad, right? Well, if you kill their sons and their whole bloodline, there's no one coming for you later on. There's just not a thing. It's just not possible because everyone's dead, which it's crazy to think of. That's why they let the women live. They let the women live to like survive, to live with it, because they know, well, they're just going to be servants anyways, and they're not going to, no woman's going to come kill me. And this is where I think Mariko is going to break that mold, and she's going to be the one that goes later on in the next episodes to do the most damage, or she's going to do something to kill off and get her revenge, and thus breaking the cycle of, oh man, we've only let the women survive. So now, nope, it's like going to be, I don't know if, because obviously they're not going to show Toranaga as like the Shogun proper, because the series is going to end before that probably happens. Just because there's only 2 more episodes left. And one of them is going to be him clearly winning, or him likely becoming Shogun, or who the fuck knows where they're going to go with this? Like we had talked about before, they may turn it into where, Mariko or fuck Blackthorn becomes the goddamn Shogun. Who knows? Where the hell this could go? So, and because because that culture respects competency in battle so much, I feel like that is a true possibility. If Blackthorn does something that turns the tide or wins the battle, they're going to be like, well, shit, if Toranaga dies, well, who gets to be Shogun now? Well, fuck, he did the most, so god damn it, we got to make this guy the Shogun. And out of honor and respect, because that's built in and bred into their culture, I feel like there's a possibility that could somehow happen. And then that's how him and Mariko get to become fucking, which would king and queen of fucking Japan, basically.
Which would be totally hilarious, because then Yabushige would be cucked once more. He's like, son of a bitch, but he also didn't prove himself, because he was already trying to find where he was gonna, who he was gonna cozy up to.
Yeah.
In order to survive. So he's not the fucking guy.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Yabushige is never going to be the guy, because and I think that's where his whole character becomes, is he knows he's never going to be the guy. So he needs to just be the one that cozies up to whoever the guy is. And I think he knows that, and he's accepted his place. So he's like, fuck, man, I got to cozy up. That's why he was like playing both sides or whatever. And it was very interesting to see what was going to happen, because I think Toranaga also knew that Ishido wasn't going to stand for this fence playing, and there was going to be no forgiveness. And once the Jozen thing happened, Toranaga already knew that Ishido is never going to fucking accept Yabushige as his buddy now. It's just not going to happen. It's impossible. And again, factoring into him knowing what Yabushige is going to eventually have to do, because it's all out of for Yabushige, it's all out of self-preservation. And honestly, Yabushige is to me is probably one of the most interesting fucking characters of this whole fucking show.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if anything, okay, it doesn't matter if he ends up becoming the Shogun or whatever. Right, it's irrelevant. For him, it's just about redemption. And like him teaming up with the Anjin or Blackthorn.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck it. Well, now we got to go and battle with these motherfuckers and fulfill Crimson Sky, because this is my only option now.
Yeah, he's like, if Toranaga doesn't want to do it, I guess me and the white boy here are gonna fucking must have thought it was white boy day.
Yeah. Fucking A. So I don't know. He And then they even had their tiffs before.
Right, yeah.
Where he's like, you don't even know how to hold a fucking sword, you fucking idiot.
Oh, yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was fucking hilarious. And he's like, again, do it. And then that was when Buntaro comes in and starts fucking with him and then he's going to kill him. And then he's like, well, what the fuck, man? And then he's just like, damn it. He's like, and then Yabushika tells him like, hey, man, you can't kill him. He's the fucking Hatamoto, you idiot. Like, you can't fucking kill him. And Buntaro's like, fucking bullshit. And he walks away.
And then for them to have the exchange on the boat and be like, allies.
Yeah.
Allies,
yeah.
And I'm like, all right, fuck it.
Yeah,
let's see where this fucking goes.
Yeah, let's see how this pans out for these two idiots.
But well shit, what else is there? I forgot. Okay, so I know did you have more?
No, I think that thread was pretty much dead, but yeah, go ahead.
All right, because it is very cool to have I mean, for the story itself, there is a grand arcing story, but every title for every episode has a meaning.
Yeah. So I missed that fucking whole thread. God damn it. Well,
yeah, because we didn't.
The whole stick of time thing, and that's another thing that I totally missed that fucking whorehouse deal. So the lady who runs the whorehouse, I forget what her name is, but the only reason she gave a good price for the brother to fuck the brother or to have the brother fuck her top girl was because she requested one stick of time. And basically that's where they put like an incense stick in a thing. And then you have until that stick is gone to talk or whatever it is you're going to do. So she's asking Toranaga for essentially, hey, like we can make this where the whores don't have to be treated like shit. Like they don't have to live a horrible life. Like we can make it so that all of them can be legitimate occupation basically and be respected and not beaten in all this bullshit. And she said, if you just give us a spot in Edo and make it a district, make it its own thing,
a red light
district, if you will, then we can have this and make it regulated essentially and make it so that it's not something that's looked on as being down or being low. Like this is something that we can elevate and you have the unique opportunity to do this for me and help me out. Toranaga is basically just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I got bigger problems to worry about. Like, why would I do this? And so she's kind of telling him things about, what does she tell him? She tells him something about his brother or something. She tells him something about it. And that makes him think for a minute. He's like, interesting. And so then later on in that episode 8, at the end, well, shit, we even forgot about the Catholic Church. The friar, he came to visit Toranaga and basically tell him, hey, I have condolences for your son. And Toranaga's like, basically, bitch, you ain't on my team. And he's like, yeah, listen, we tried to convince the 2 Christian guys not to fucking go through with this, but we can't do it. So sorry. We did our best. And he's like, man, get the fuck out of here. And he's like, dude, I'm not here because of the church. Like, I came here, kind of on my own. And he's like, you did make me a promise. And you said that, like, we could build a church in Edo. And so he's like, you know what? You're right. And he's like, I am a man of my word. So he's like, you can go ahead and have that. And so then at the end of that next episode, he goes there to the plot of land. He's all happy and he's looking and he's like, oh yeah. He's like, so they're like, yep, this is your plot of land. He's like, cool. And he sees this group over there and he's like, who are them? And the guy's like, oh yeah, that's your neighbor or whatever. They're owning that plot of land that's next to you. And he's like, oh, interesting. He's like, who are they? And he's like, oh yeah, they're hookers, I believe. And he just goes like, motherfucker. So Toranaga fulfilled his promise to the friar, but he also gave him a fuck you by putting them next to the whorehouse. And so so then that lady, you see, okay, Toranaga gave her what she wanted in the end. And he did say, cool, we're gonna try it this way and see what happens. And again, that was what really told me for sure that Toranaga was not going to go through. He was going to go through and fight because he's not just setting her up for that, because he's like, okay, this is setting us all up for the future of how we're going to change the way Japan is. Because I think he has in mind, like, okay, obviously he knows when he's going to become shogun, some things are going to change. Like, he's going to make some changes around here. And one of those changes is going to be obviously what this lady, I feel like, how she wants to change the direction of how whores are dealt with. Or
how was she helpful to him? That was what I couldn't remember about the episode, was how she was going to be, in order for her to get the land that she wanted. How is she offering help to Toranaga?
I think it was to change the culture. I think that's what she was getting at. Was she's like, we can change the culture surrounding this, or it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be where these girls that are orphans or these girls that are, just outcasts of society have to be in this lowly position. We can make this position elevated. And she's like, isn't that kind of what we're all doing here? We're all just trying to make it better for the next generation, right? And that was kind of where I think that was what she had triggered something in his brain. And he's just kind of thinking, yeah, you know what? You're right.
That's worth the plot of land.
Right. That's worth a plot of land to give you. And I also get to give the middle finger to the fucking the church. So
I thought he was going to use, well, they kind of did. I thought they were going to harbor all the main players of Toranaga's clan within the whorehouse.
Uh-huh.
Because that's kind of like, it's not sacred ground, but
Right.
it's a neutral zone.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, you guys can't get me. I'm in the whorehouse.
yeah.
And then for as long as he needs to be in there, he'll plot from within there. And I thought that was how it was going to.
Okay. Yeah.
But it ended up being that Nagakado used that sacred
the neutrality of the whorehouse to make his attack.
To make an attack.
Which is the only way it would have worked as far as, because Nagakado and Omi could not and their buddies could not take them on in an open combat, a fair fight. And, that does also speak to the fact of, essentially in combat that there should never be such thing as a fair fight. If you go in expecting a fair fight, you're going to lose, because that's what happens, because there is no such thing as fairness on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And the battlefield is wherever your enemy decides. And that's one of the things that I think that Toranaga respected about his son was that he differed from Toranaga, where Toranaga always said about how we are going to make them attack us first at a place of our choosing, of when we decide. We're going to make them attack us when we decide.
Yeah.
And because Nagakado couldn't comprehend that, he was like, no, I'm going to attack them where I decide. And so that's what he did. He made that attack where he decided and determined where that battle was going to be. And if it weren't for the fact that he would have slipped and fallen and fucking cracked his skull, he would have won. He would have won that battle simply because he was able to take the initiative and choose the time and the place. And that's where a lot of the things where Toranaga, it's these different styles of leadership, and Toranaga is more of a sit back and kind of wait and kind of let things play out and then kind of manipulate things to be in your favor, so that when the eventuality of a conflict takes place, you've already got all these things lined up and set and ready to go. But the problem with that is there's the thing of shit happens, right? And sometimes your pieces of your plan don't always go according to plan. Just like he could have never predicted that his son was going to kill Jozen. Like, he could have never fucking predicted that. And that was the catalyst for putting them into this position that they were in. He also probably could have never predicted that Ishido would have been smart enough to offer his half-brother the fucking thing to secure and guarantee that they have now a fifth regent, and now they're going to guarantee Toranaga's compliance, and they've cut off his army completely, because now he has no fucking army, because that was going to be the whole crux of his plan. So he could have probably never predicted that was going to happen. So that's an example of the wait and see mentality sometimes doesn't fucking work all the time. And it's like where you got to have this mixture of styles of how you adapt to things, because you can't just sit back all the time. And also, by the same token, you can't just all the time do what Nagakado did. You can't just always take the initiative and go out, because a lot of times that's going to backfire in your face, because there's factors where, like it did, this plan just backfired in his face because of something unforeseen that happened. And his inexperience, his impulsiveness, that impulsiveness was what fucking cost him that battle, is because if he could have just waited, then this would have played out completely differently. Mm-hmm. But by the same token, it also bought Toranaga time. So it's like, yeah, you gotta have a mixture of the two when it comes to, or a mixture of multitude of styles, and be able to adapt and overcome. That's kind of what it's all about. And so
the Bear Grylls, Bear Grylls mentality:
survive, adapt, overcome. So yeah.
I don't know why. I think I came across something that says like Japanese culture when it comes to business, when it comes to doing business with other businesses.
Yeah.
That it takes fucking a lifetime basically to come to a financial decision.
Yeah.
Because they basically weigh all possible options. So it could be a fucking minute before you get an answer. So feels like it plays into, or is very much of what Toranaga is.
Yeah.
That he just waits till the last fucking minute to weigh, because I mean, dude, pretty much throughout the series is like, fuck off, I'm thinking here.
Yeah.
Or he's like, nah, not today. I'm thinking, bitch. He's like, I'm gonna go think by this fucking Shinto over here, the Shinto shrine. So I don't know. It seems to work out in his favor. He's still alive.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So he conned everybody to believing that he was gonna.
Yeah, and obviously his whole plan of the death of Hiromatsu killing himself in defiance of his surrender. Yeah, okay, I'll give him that. It does sell the fucking whole thing completely. It 100% sells it. Now there's no doubt in anybody's mind that he really is actually surrendering if he let that dude kill himself. Yeah, okay, there's no doubt. Osaka is not going to be expecting any fucking resistance.
Yeah.
And that's where they're going to run into likely the problem of them losing is because they're going to get caught completely off guard. So it will be interesting. I am excited for the next 2 episodes just because obviously it's the end of the series. But this Crimson Sky one I think is going to be fucking action packed. It's going to be that in Game of Thrones when they did the Battle of the Bastards, or when they did when they fought that White Walker army or whatever. It's going to be akin to those kind of episodes. I feel like it's just going to be all fucking battle sequences, and I really hope it fucking shines. I have high hopes for this upcoming episode.
I just want to see Ashido die.
Yeah, me too. I'd like to see him get killed.
I have a feeling. I don't know who's gonna die because this is gonna be like a Red Wedding.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be a slaughterhouse.
Yeah, I think that I think Toranaga might die. I don't know.
I think Omi will live because he kind of has the perceptiveness to warfare.
Yeah,
like he just kind of knows.
Like where Nagakado didn't have that at all.
Yeah,
Omi at least kind of has that.
I feel like he'll end up alive. I don't know about Yabushige. I think he'll be like a sacrificial lamb, not because he's sacrificing himself, just because for the sake of the plot, they're like, let's throw in another death in there, somebody important. And it'll mean something maybe it'll mean something to Blackthorn to motivate him to change the tide of the war or some bullshit. Because I don't know. I hope that's not the case. I actually hope that fucking Yabushige ends up alive and he's like, all right, we fucking made it out.
Man, hey, don't rewrite the will this time. That would be cool to see it where he's like, we don't have to rewrite the will. Hey,
yeah. What do you have to say about the past 2 episodes themselves? Though?
They were very narrative heavy, obviously, and I get it. I understand that, especially, and this is why I'm expecting Crimson Sky to be just all combat because there really wasn't any. There was just that one little fight sequence at the end of episode 7 when Nagakado kills himself by accident like an idiot. Yeah. But other than that, there really wasn't any actual fighting or combat. And so this was basically setting up all the pieces. These episodes were very Toranaga-esque where all the pieces of the story are getting set up and now they're going to be in play for the main action to happen, which is going to be in episode 9. And then I imagine episode 10 will probably just be, we might even get, because it's called A Dream of a Dream or something like that. So it's like, I'm thinking we might even get a flash forward into the future. It might be like 5 or 10 years in the future, the whole episode, just to kind of, because I don't necessarily know where it goes in the book, but I kind of feel like that's where it's going to end up going. Is it'll be like a flash forward episode to show how everything played out. The episode will end with whoever the victor is going to be. It'll end with like that. And then episode 10 will just be 20 years later or fucking 15 years or whatever the time skip's going to be. And it'll show them, 10 years post Crimson Sky or 5 years or a year. Well, who knows what it'll be. I'm just interested to see what's going to happen with the fucking Taiko's fucking son, who has no idea what anything is happening and has no idea what's going on. Or is Toranaga going to let him live, or is he going to fucking execute him, or is he going to, what's he going to do? I don't know. Yeah,
more of a plot device than an actual fucking character.
Right, yeah, really, it was just a straight plot device. And I do think that if they want to show Toranaga change, because Toranaga is going to have to change and become a little more fucking ruthless when he becomes the Shogun to maintain the power. He's going to have to become, he did kind of show that by letting
fucking
Hiromatsu kill himself. Yeah. That was very ruthless, tactical, fucking cold-blooded decision. And I think that's what it's like. It's showing him becoming the Shogun.
Oh yeah. Shit, dude. For a guy that is calm, cool, collected, this illustrates like how impartial he is even to his own personal relationships. It's like, if we are to save the Japans, sometimes a pawn has to be fucking sacrificed. Right. Yeah. Sometimes it might be my own friend.
Or shit. Sometimes it has to be a knight or a bishop that gets sacrificed in order to, someone that's higher than a pawn.
Yeah.
Which kind of where that's where I put Hiromatsu. He's definitely higher than a pawn. So this is him sacrificing his bishop or his knight to let the king get into position to where he can fucking take him down.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know why I wanted to bring this up real quickly, but the part about Mariko having the tea with Buntaro,
yeah.
and I don't know where the fuck they went. They were in Osaka.
Yeah.
But the part where she was talking about not wanting to die with him, like the stipulations of her, or the conditions on which she would want to fucking die, because she does want to fucking die,
Right. Yeah.
so that she doesn't have to carry this burden, because she's basically carrying her whole fucking bloodlines,
karma, I guess.
Yeah,
or whatever,
karma or mistakes or whatever, and like that is one condition in which she will accept fucking seppuku. And then the other being, all right, well, if I am a stooge to fucking Toranaga's plan, then I can also go out that way, because at least it's going out
with a bang, basically.
with a bang, yeah. And fulfilling some type of plan. I don't know why, but, and I don't know if the plot calls for it, but man, I'm kind of thinking, I'm kind of hopeful that, I don't know why, but I do want Mariko to end up being the Shogun for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think that would be fucking cool.
Because she's carried the most shit, and she is perceptive to warfare. She's
competent in fighting.
She's competent in fighting. She just hasn't had the opportunity to basically fulfill her life's purpose.
Yeah. And
that's what I'm kind of hoping this last battle of the Crimson Sky shit is like, her displaying that.
Yeah.
She's going to be possibly going to become the show. I don't know if that's actually going to happen.
Man, that would be fucking cool though.
And I'm also thinking, shit, like, are we going to get some fucking Tom Cruise Last Samurai shit where the white boy fucking saves the day? Because I honestly don't want that.
Yeah.
I think Blackthorn,
I think he should die. Like,
I think Blackthorn should play second fiddle to somebody, but he's pivotal to the victory itself, because obviously he's the naval.
Right. Yeah. He's going to be the thing that turns the tide, I think.
Yeah. He's the naval commander or whatever the fuck they titled him as. But I don't think he should be it. The obvious solution would probably be Toranaga being the Shogun.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens. So stay tuned for what will be in a couple weeks' time, the final episode. I guess the final episodes, it'll be Shogun episodes 9 and 10. And then, like I said, I don't know how long it's going to take me to read that book, but fucking after a month or so, maybe later, I'll fucking have read the book, and then we can sit there and compare and contrast all the fucking differences between the book and the show. That'd be interesting to fucking just think.
How many pages is it between the two books?
It's like 1,000 something. It's like 12, maybe it's like 1,200 or 1,100 pages.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Game of Thrones, the one was like that. It was like over 1,000 pages, I think, and it didn't take me that long to read it. So,
okay,
I feel like I could knock it out. I mean, shit. If you read 100 pages a day, that's a lot. But I mean, fuck, if you read 50 pages a day, it'd take you like 20 days, 25 days.
True. Yeah.
So I think I could read it in a month pretty easily.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, and then when I'm sitting bored, doing some stuff, it's like I got time. I got 12 hours to sit there and just fucking read. So instead of fucking around and scrolling on Instagram, I could just read instead, and then fucking, at least I'm doing work technically.
Yeah.
So because it'll lead to content.
Yeah, that's the primary motivation for anything, is like, how do we turn everything that we enjoy into
making content for this?
Yeah.
And so far it's worked.
True. So, and we will fulfill that goal with fulfilling the last two episodes of fucking.
Yep, absolutely. And
Shogun.
If for any reason we would fail in that goal, we will definitely have a new will created and we'll commit seppuku.
Yeah, dude.
Absolutely. So anyways, all right. We got anything else?
Yeah, no, I just, these last two episodes seem to be heavily fucking driven by interactions with different characters to set up for the climactic end of the series. Not to say, I don't think I hated any of them. I actually enjoyed them quite a bit, because you don't need like senseless violence if there's story to be told.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. Anyways, all right, cool. Well, check us out for the next one. You'll also probably be seeing another episode drop before. Actually, you're gonna see it alongside this one. There's gonna be the Has Been Hotel season 2 review that Frank and I are gonna do. So you'll see that alongside this episode in a separate, one. So stay tuned for that, and also stay tuned for the next episode of Shogun 9 and 10. And if you want to follow us, you'll hear it at the end of this thing. And then if you want to follow Adam for new music tips and tricks and stuff, All Gas No Trash Official. So with that, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Oh, hey there, buddy. It's me, 1930s announcer guy, here to congratulate you on making it through this episode. As our heroes are getting in their jalopies and riding off into the literal sunset, they wanted me to tell you thanks for listening to their radio broadcast, and should you be so kind as to follow them on some fancy schmancy radio station publication called Instagram and TikTok at Game Range Magazine, and on some other thing called Twitter/X at Game Range Mag. Also, they wanted me to inform you and ask if you could be so kind again as to visit something called a website at www.GameRageMagazine.com. I don't know what that is, buddy, but you should probably go do those things. And, don't forget to tune in next time to the Game Rage Movies and TV radio broadcast.